To talk about that, and then I'll hand off to the main organizers for this event. Let me talk about the brief genesis of Mentorship Day. This is happened way back in December when I was trying to recruit a board for Silicon Valley chapter. And I have followed Atul's career for many, many years. And I had him in mind for being on the board for Silicon Valley. And I met with him, and the first thing that he wanted me to orchestrate was mentoring. And that hit the perfect note for me because I believed in the aspect of mentoring. What he said was, when he spent many years at Nortel and HP, there was a specialized program on succession planning, mentoring, and grooming people next layer of leaders, which he found missing in today's fast-paced world of startups, agile, and so on and so forth. And he wanted to bring that aspect to the BITSAA alumni. And I thank him with the bottom of my heart for encouraging us to do this event and supporting us in this endeavor. So I'll introduce Atul in a while, but that's the genesis of the mentorship event. We have a fairly simple agenda today. I'll take about 5 minutes to talk about SVC events update. Then we'll hand it off to Atul, talking about leadership for transforming times. There's a structured mentoring for about an hour, and then we realized that not everybody would have got their first preference or second preference as mentors. So we kept about half an hour for unstructured mentoring so you can reach out to people whom you may not have had the opportunity to have when you start mentoring. Let me take a step back and say, how many of you have heard of BITSAA? Great. So BITSAA, thanks to the previous organization team that was part of BITSAA Silicon Valley, they did an awesome job of anchoring this event called BITSAA. It's an annual event for us. And the idea was to infuse Apogee, interface, and OSS into one single event, if those terms resonate with you in the campus. And I think those last 2 years were fabulous. The only challenge that we had was this is a once-a-year event. People would come, show up, meet, network, party, and go on. And nothing would happen for the whole year. So one of the objectives that we took on as a charter to see how we can build the momentum to the final event. How can we infuse various events through the course of the year such that we engage a broader community, a diversified audience, early stage, mid-stage, late stage career persons. So with that objective, we started doing events throughout the course of the year. The first event was a very casual picnic. We kicked this off in March this year. We invited friends and family. And the idea was to kind of have a very informal way to kickstart things. From there, we moved to something called the Tech Day and Career Fair. We organized this in June. The idea again was to, what we realized is that for BITSAA, we were missing out on the younger generation, the early stage career folks who could resonate with BITSAA as a concept. So we targeted this event mostly for the early stage BITSAAs. The idea was to introduce them to new technologies, talk about where careers can be made, and then have an informal career fair event where companies would participate and hire people. Worked really well, and we also collaborated with BITSAA, the other arm of BITS that does funding, to do a very casual event with them. We also organized an SF run, and from there we moved on to the BITSAA Day. As you can see the audience that has changed over time. We had very limited people here, but as we kept getting engagement community, what happened on BITSAA Day was magical. We had about 250 people show up at a very informal event in Sunnyvale. We also screened a movie called 3 Idiots to resonate with the campus life, and you can see the enthusiasm that we had. So we're hoping we're building the momentum for the main event. While we're doing this, it's a lot of hard work, but we also have a ball doing this. And we're hoping all of this will lead to a fantastic BITSAA event that's going to happen in October. I would love most of you to sign up, look at what's happening for BITSAA. Before you leave here, Saurabh, somewhere here, a CFO, he has a swipe card. If you can sign up for BITSAA, I'd really appreciate that. Moving on, it's a very high level. There's still a lot of work in progress for BITSAA, but we are trying to have a spread of tech, non-tech tracks along with the code camp track. This will be successful. You'll see all the details on the BITSAA website. It's on the October 13th at San Jose State University. Full day event, but pretty exciting stuff that we're looking forward to hear. So if you had a chance to take a look at it, and request you can sign up. Quick introduction to the mentors for today. That's your mentors. They have all accomplished leaders in their own right. Most of them happen to be on the board of BITSAA Silicon Valley chapter as well. And it's been humbling when we made a request for them to sign up as mentors. They decided to take an afternoon out and just for the fun of it, for the thrill of it, wanted to come in and mentor some BITSAAs. That's the sort of mentors you have for today. That's the team that's been working behind the scenes more than me. They deserve all the accolades and all the hard work that they've done. The thought process, the thinking, the informal time that they spend on weekends, weekdays is very humbling. So great note of thanks to the team and note of applause to the Silicon Valley. So you can follow us on various social media on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Last slide is a thank you again for being here. That's the Wi-Fi access and password. Becomes a critical essential element of life. From here, I'd like to bring the team that's behind today's event. I'd like Sai, Prakash, Rohit, Aishwarya, please come on stage. Sai, Prakash. So I'll have Prakash say a few words, then introduce Atul to you all.
Thank you, Mansoor. So when we started off doing mentoring, I stepped up and I said I have handled. I believe that mentoring is a very critical component of anyone's career, and you're going to be hearing from Atul as to the value you can get out of mentoring. And as it happens, I used to conduct mentoring events for Tyson. So I had some experience in running such events. So I told Mansoor that I could help. So the person that put it all together, made it all happen this time. He's been incredible. In terms of communicating, in terms of informing, in terms of putting things together. So
all the marketing stuff that you see on social media, on SVC, WhatsApp group, everything. He spends a lot of time in promoting these events in addition to helping us put it together. So, Sai, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And the concept itself, the concept team, Rohit, engaging in the concept team. Thank you, Rohit. And the operations, ultimately, an event like this has to be organized and operated and executed. So, Noob is our operations chief. He's busy making sure everything is happening. With that, I'd like to introduce Atul. Atul, as Mansoor mentioned, he's on the BITSAA Silicon Valley board. And he is the main inspiration for this event. So, Atul, please come up.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me start with a story, and then I'll introduce myself as well. So, after doing higher secondary in Delhi in 1973, I thought I knew everything in math, physics, chemistry, merit scholarship and all that. You come from high school and you feel you arrived. So I come to Pilani. Remember, in our days, it was unassigned batch. You can tell your relatives you're doing electronics engineering, but you might be doing MS Sanskrit. So that was I would say, the most first shock. and you think you are a best student, your PCM is 93.5, you know it. And first week on the campus, I'm telling a real story. And these are very much building blocks as I go through next, 60 minutes or so. So the first week, if those of you who remember, this goes back 73. The calculus book was G.B. Thomas. I'm not sure whether they used G.B. Thomas or not. So there was a movie in Audi. So all of us, I was 16, I just crossed 16. So we go to this movie. It was a Friday or Thursday, I don't remember exactly. So we were 16-year-olds, we were kidding around, auditorium, chandelier, never seen anything like that. So we watched this movie for about 45 minutes. And there were professors in the math department had hosted the movie. The next Monday there was a surprise quiz. And I had no idea of surprise quizzes. I'm the real story. And they had negative marking and the movie was about limits. Completely ignored the movie. There was negative marking. You're in an unassigned batch. Your parents think you are going for electronics engineering. See, they didn't know the reality. So I get -6. Exact marks, -6 out of 10. Because each wrong answer was -1. So that was a shock to the system. In DHS, I had scored in 73, 140 out of 150 in math. So I was in Vyas Bhavan. So right opposite Saraswati Mandir. So I went to the lawn and I sat there shocked. Completely shocked. Your dad is working hard, your mom is working hard, you are a middle class family. Just putting you in Pilani, even in 73 was expensive. And I didn't know what hit me. But one reality dawned on me that day, that if you want to do electronics from Pilani, and electronics from Pilani was phenomenal. Top 30 or top 40 students kind of went to electronics out of 500. And everybody is a fighter, an assigned batch. So that day I said, you know what? Yeah, this was a downturn in some ways, a major down, but I need to work harder. And one thing, I'm very thankful to BITS, that, when you enter as a 16-year-old, and when you graduate as a 21-year-old, I was a different person. And this is why this meeting and mentoring is important. This is why I'm spending time. Because Pilani made a significant impact on me. So I entered, I think as a 16-year-old, overconfident, probably from Delhi, high school, didn't realize how good other people are. So the first lesson I learned there is that other people, if you mingle with other people who are very good, you become better. So I'm going to share with you that journey, and that impacted the rest of the life. So ability to work hard when things are not going according to your plan. I learned there. Then 2 years in a row, I scored 10.0. But the shock to the system was necessary, because I don't think I realized how hard I need to work. Then I started sacrificing Saturday movies, because I said, if I need to do electronics, I need to apply. So the second lesson I learned was time management. Now remember, everybody's part of a group. If you don't go, they say, oh, you're not going to the movie today? And you need to have the strength to say, no, I'm not going to the movie. So a lot of those lessons that you build the social fabric, but you don't sacrifice your agenda, is an important lesson in life. The lesson that you need to have time management is a crucial lesson as an executive. You cannot be an executive in life if you don't manage time. And these lessons as a 16, 17, 18-year-old, I picked up all there. So then when I scored, 2 years, 10.0 type score, then I relaxed a bit. Because now, at the end of third year, when there is selection, I was 9.5, 9.6. But it took perspiration, not inspiration. And there's another key lesson, that it is not important how smart you are. A lot of people, I think, focus too much on smartness. Smartness is important, but more important is how you apply yourself. It's far more important to be a very successful executive. I'm saying engineer, I'm saying manager, I'm saying executive, founder, CEO, CTO, because that's everybody has a ambition to kind of get to peak. Next lesson there, right in those 5 years, humbleness. We had amazing professors, absolutely amazing. I lost track, but Professor Ramnan, Professor Handa, Professor Krishnamurti, Professor Iyer, TSKV Iyer, I still remember the names. This is going back almost 40 years. And I've not met any of them. But the contribution they made to our lives was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And they're so humble. Simple. So when I look back at BITS time, I think a lot of these skills, because by the time you hit 21, a lot of neurons are connected properly by that time. So whatever habits you pick, they either get amplified or you change a little bit, but you are a man. You're no longer a 16-year-old boy. So when you join work, you continue the cadence you developed. So I always start mentoring meetings of this kind. Even in Thai, I give a talk and I said the same thing there, that BITS Pilani made a very key impact. So when I came out of Pilani, what I knew that I can do anything. Because from -6, shock, to then succeed, work hard, have time management, have humbleness, and respect others who have expertise. Don't be jealous. Respect them, learn from them. As somebody said, you are average of the company you keep. That's a very profound thing. You're average of the company you keep. So if you are competing and working with people who are better than you, and you're learning from them, you become better and better. Osmosis. You become better and better. All these lessons were those 5 years. So now a little bit about my background. Pilani, I think, was an important background. So after BITS, I worked 3 years in India, in Delhi, a company called DCM Data Products. They were one of the first companies. And life is nothing but events which shape you. Let's see, now I can talk these sentences. You guys can't. Right? Life is nothing but events that shape you. At that time, you don't know what this event is doing to me. Actually, you feel bad. You feel disappointed. But in hindsight, I have so many examples that I thought the career is over. Or I thought there's no way you can come out of it properly. But in hindsight, that event was necessary for electron to jump to the next orbit. And in one case, and I'll share this as I go through, there are 5 points I'm going to narrow down to as we focus. But at one point, the salary, the take-home money, became 1/3 of the last job. Has any of you had that kind of change? That your take-home money, one hand, 2 hands, few hands, those are very humbling moments in life. When your take-home becomes 1/3, you are a general manager, senior vice president, you are picking gobs of money in a large company, and then you go 1/3 because you have to reinvent yourself. And that process of reinvention which you go through is where lies the seed of the growth. And it's very tough. It's very easy for me to say right now all those things. You know, you have kids, you have family, you have responsibilities. So those 3 years in Delhi were good. Now at that time I didn't know, well, working in India. Then I left for graduate school here. But there was an event, and that's why I'm going to talk about events and stories. Because that hammers the point a lot more strongly than any kind of academic slides. So Pilani had practice school. All of you probably went through that. It was the early days of practice school. I think it was probably first top 3-4 years of practice school. So I was lucky enough to go to Electronics Commission of India in Delhi. Remember, I'm electronics was very early, like this is 76. Electronics is still early, Intel 8080 was just announced. So very early days. And so I go to Electronics Commission, I learned assembly language. Before that, I've not done software. I'm not done anything, I've done courses basically. So assembly language I learned and I liked that. You know, machine language. So there was an advertisement in Hindustan Times. Experienced electronics engineers needed in Delhi. My family was from Delhi, so I said, and I had a job offer from Larsen and Toubro, campus interviews. But that was in Bombay. So I said, well, Bombay, you know, parents needed that. I said, Delhi job would be much better. So I applied. And they sent a ticket. DCM was a good company. They sent a ticket, first class or something from Loharu to Delhi. I said, I was right. I've never sat in first class. So to me, just the fact that they sent a ticket, I was very happy. So I went to Delhi, and there were these experienced guys from IIT Kanpur and Delhi, very experienced guys, because they said experienced electronics engineers needed. And this was like 1978, probably January or something like that. 5 months I'll graduate. So there were 20 people in the interview room. I interviewed as well. I was happy. I was sure that, you know, this was a good journey, and I'm so glad to send me a ticket. I'll be back to Pilani. So they said, well, come back at 12. And we will tell you who was selected for final interview in the afternoon. So out of 20, we'll select 5. We have kind of 2 or 3 positions. So I casually walk in and noon, I said, I'm pretty sure I'm out. These guys are all very experienced guys. I have no experience. But the assembly language programming and the talk I told them what I've done in Electronics Commission, somehow they said, you may be the right guy. So they came back, I did a second interview, I was hired. I graduated on 13th May or something like that. There was a Sunday in between. I think Saturday I came back to Delhi. Monday I was at DCM. And that journey started of programming, software, assembly language. And then I went to graduate school, finished electrical computer engineering. Then I went to Tektronix in Oregon for 3 years. Now, these are all, I'm going to connect these things as I go, as you're guiding your career, you know, how you guide it. So when I went to Tektronix, TCP IP and internet were very scientific. There was no internet. It was CSNet, computer science network. So joined there and then had a chance to kind of start understanding TCP IP. This is 1982. Master's was redesigning Unix kernel using message passing, multiprocessing. So those 3 years in Tektronix was good that I kind of entered networks. And this is one of the lessons I'll focus on. The field you are in is a very important decision. And I was lucky that the field I picked, not by design, but I think I was lucky, that's the right word, was networks. The hot fields were compilers, operating system, drivers, right? Networking was still relatively early field. 1 megabit Ethernet was high speed. So 3 years, Tektronix, then comes a significant change, and that's also I'm going to talk about. There are 5 key points I'll talk about, I'll come to that, but I'm just setting the stage. So I said, well, the tectonics in Oregon is not as progressive. And I realized by the time I was 26, 27, I had interacted enough in US, had worked in India for 3 years. I made a decision. And the decision I made was that there are much better software architects than me. There are much better coders, designers than me. Well, I can architect, I can design. These are people who start coding when they were 14, 13, 10. I will not be able to compete with these guys. But I have an ability they don't have. I can organize things. I can get things done. I can work with people. I can get a program out of the door. So I made a decision that I think management path is going to be good for me. And I think that was a very crucial decision. Because remember, FAD in then and now, FAD was still, let me become a real hotshot technical guy. But I had the maturity to say, no, I can do technical stuff, but what he does in 1 hour, I take 3. I write the language, algorithm, then I do flowchart. This guy sits there, he cranks C code. So that decision was important. And I loved getting things done. I loved getting things done through others. It was not important that I coded. What was important is that the product got done. And that is management, that is leadership. And that lesson is somehow that changed and put me towards more management path early, much earlier. So with that in mind, I said, this is not a progressive company as much in Oregon as Hewlett Packard is. We had just bought a house. We had 2 boys. One was 3, one was 6 months. And we just bought a house 6 months back. So my wife said, why would you move now? I had just gotten promoted in electronics as well. I said, no, we need to be in a place where there is progressive management and they do computers. IBM had just announced IBM PC in 82 or 81. And I felt HP is that was the second crucial decision, probably one of the best decisions I made. So we moved from a house to an apartment rental on El Camino, Bernardo Avenue. And for I would say good 2 years, the standard of living went down. But HP was an amazing place. There were people who would mentor you. There were people who spent time with you. There were people who were amazing leaders. When I looked up in mid-80s in HP, I joined in 85, worked there for 15 years. In those 15 years, I never got bored. Every 2 to 3 years had a chance for the next job. Never did MBA. But learned everything about people leadership, product leadership, technology leadership, execution, and most important, core values. Core values. How do you run companies? How do you run teams? How do you become a leader? Those 15 years were transformational from the, I arrived early 40s. But by the time HP was over, I was a general manager of divisions. So in those 15 years, and that journey I will go into deeper as we talk about those 5 points. So as the journey started in HP, it just unfolded beautifully. So if you're in big companies, you don't need to think I won't grow, I'm stuck. Because I was in a big company 15 years. I went from almost an engineer or first line supervisor to a general manager in 10 years. And that set the stage for future growth. But I kept growing every 2-3 years. I kept learning new things. I moved from R&D to product management to marketing to sales, biz dev. I covered all the ground. So by the time I became general manager, I knew the functions. Because as an engineer, you don't know some of that. And that's not rocket science. It's very common sense, but you have to do it. So you get the language, the lingo, customer interaction, customer presentations, your own idiosyncrasies. How to watch your own idiosyncrasies and be very smooth when you deliver a presentation. All those things you learn in those roles as product management, product marketing, sales. Because you can be great R&D engineer, software, hardware architect, but when you put it in front of the customer, you may not be the best. Similarly, the person who's a very good biz dev may not be. So all that expertise is necessary when you become a leader. Because you need to understand both of them. You need to select the right people for the right job. So by going through those functions in HP, I became more diversified. And HP was an environment where you could take that risk. One of the reasons why I think these meetings are very important is that not many companies are letting you take the risk and protect you. Because when you go from R&D to marketing or product management, it's a very vulnerable time. It's a non-trivial, very non-trivial transition. It's a different mindset than coding. When you go into marketing and product management, things are hazy. It's not black and white. You don't come home and say, I coded this much lines of code, 5 kilograms. Whereas as an engineer, every day you come home, you have some level of satisfaction. I debug that, I solve the problem. But in marketing, product management, business or sales, you may be working on something for 3 months for it to completely go away. So you have to be a more resilient person versus an engineer where you control more. So those are the lessons can you learn. Then you become, as you become a leader, so-called, of a division or company or a department, then you can guide them. That's why there is no substitute for experience. Anyone who wants to move very fast into very high orbit, you're taking a very high risk. The higher you go, the harder you fall. And when you become a VP, SVP, GM, EVP, CEO, remember, you fall hard, the next job comes a little tougher. So it's much better to pace yourself with skills, not with time, with skills. Pace yourself with skills. And it's not time, 3 years, 4 years, no, there's no time. You say, I learned product management, I learned marketing, I learned sales, I'm ready. That is what I'm saying when I say pace yourself. So after HP, 15 years, I realized that internet was happening, but we were missing it. So I went to a smaller company, which then got acquired by Nortel Networks, and I ran Bay Networks enterprise side for the enterprise division of Bay Networks in Santa Clara for about 6 years. Then I went to a startup, and then very much after the startup, got a chance to run a public company called BITSAA. Many of you may use the product, especially in networking. So there we did 100 gig Ethernet testing, simulation, load generation, and very good experience for about 5 years. Then I joined after that Cambium Networks, where I am right now for about 5 years. And we do broadband, affordable networking for developing countries, developing communities. As a company, we have shipped about 5 million plus radios worldwide, and connected about 100 million people. Very affordable broadband, and growing very well as a company. We have R&D in San Jose, Chicago, London, and Bangalore, and a lot of BITSAAans in the company in Bangalore office actually. So that has been a journey with very strong contribution, I would say, from Pilani. Now, I talked about 5 points. That's where I want to focus today, rest of the talk. I think the point number 1 is you have to have passionate vision for yourself, fortified with your experiences. I'm going to explain what I mean by that. You guys do vision for your department, you do vision for your teams, you do team building exercises, but sometimes we don't do as much well-planned vision for ourselves. And vision doesn't need to be, it doesn't need to be next 10 years. Just 3-4 years is good enough. But you need to have clarity in your mind. What am I going to accomplish in the next 3 to 4 years? And that goal setting is important. So for example, in my case, I never knew I'd be a CEO, to be very frank. But one thing I knew when I was 27, 28, that I want to be a manager, not a technical coder. That I knew. So I set goal for next 3-4 years, let me become a manager. I became first line manager. Then I set a goal for the next 3 years, let me become director of engineering. That happened. Then I set a goal, let me become a VP of engineering. That happened. That's what I mean. And about each of those goals, I was passionate. What do I mean I was passionate? I put effort. I applied myself. I looked for opportunities. I networked with the right people who will guide me and mentor me in that role. I had 2 very good mentors. Both became CEOs in pretty strong companies in Silicon Valley. Any big decision I made in my career, I always ran by them. Mentors are very important in your career. For example, the very first conference call I did with Wall Street as a public company CEO, I sat with my mentor. He was a public company CEO already. And I said, I'm about to do this call with Wall Street. What is your advice? Now, I would have learned those things with trial and error over the next 1 year or 2 years. But his advice was so good, he shortened my learning. He said, do this, but don't do this. And that's what I mean. When you have mentors, good mentors, they accelerate your evolution. So when I say passionate vision for yourself, fortified with experiential learning, what I mean by that is that you are also unleashing passion. You're not depending on anybody else. You are passionate about those 3-4 year, your key goal, and you're going to work hard with that goal in mind. But that's not your ultimate goal. So for example, if any of you say, my ultimate goal is to be a CEO, don't go that far. And this I call piecewise linearization. Remember piecewise, y equal mx plus c? So all you have to do is 3-4 year goal. And then as you do 3-4 year goal, the next 3-4 year becomes clearer, piecewise linearization. Whereas if you say C, then you get frustrated, that's not happening. So my advice is always, for the passionate vision, then make sure your experiences you're going through are in that direction. So now let me give you an example. So once I decided that I'll be VP of engineering, so by the time I was 34, 33, I had already hit that goal of leading a TCP/IP team of HP UX in Cupertino. Then I said, what next? Because I knew I'm not CTO material. Those guys are very technical. I'm still more of a management leader type background. So I said, what is next? I said, next is to be a general manager of a P&L. Logical. Now, to be a general manager of a P&L, you are MS in computer science or computer engineering, electrical engineering, and there are some very good MBAs. Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, Chicago. Very, very good MBAs. How are you going to compete with them? So when I say passionate vision, that passion is what kicks in them. You have a vision that you want to be a general manager one day, but you're not working with focused passion to go in that direction. So what I did, I said, okay, in order for me to compete, I don't have the money, 300K, to go to any top school. We have a family, we have kids to feed, we have kids to send to schools. So what am I going to do? I said, best is, HP still values mentoring. Best thing I can do is learn all these guys, and I noticed that these guys had a very refined lingo. As they made customer presentations, as they were very refined. So I started observing them. Then I said, okay, it will be good for me to move to product management. So that was a very risky. Remember, you are director, VP engineering type person. You're top ranked. Your salary is good. You are the king of the hill in R&D. You walk and every engineer wants to talk with you. You go to product management. You're at the base of the totem pole. And these guys are MBAs. They are good. They give presentations. They can run circles. So you are back at the base. Now, what was good about HP was that our bosses gave air cover when people go. HP encouraged that. Because they groom general managers, they groom leaders. How many companies do that right now? Very few. So I was very lucky. And that's why these forums are very important for you guys to come and listen. Because companies are not investing as much in grooming leaders of tomorrow. HP had a program for us, how they groomed us. So any boss said, product management, you go, I'll air cover for a year, then you swim. After that, you're on your own. But that 1 year is good, guidance is good. So product management, that gave me almost equal footing to an MBA without doing an MBA. You learn pricing, you learn competitive benchmarking, you learn how to do a data sheet. You learn a lot. You learn how to give presentations. Non-trivial stuff, by the way. It looks very easy. Not easy in real life because any engineer can write 17 points why their product is best. But writing those 3 points hard-hitting with value, with pricing, with competitive benchmarking, and then teaching field how to sell. Getting the first POCs, proof of concepts, 10 POCs, getting revenue going, watching the margin, getting the profitability, then getting the volume, recruiting channels. This is all stuff you learn in MBAs and then on the job. So product management taught that, then did marketing. So my point is passionately pursuing your vision is not just talking about it, is important. And then the 3-year goal. 3 year can become 4 year, no problem. 4 year can become 5 year, no problem. Don't worry about that. But you have to move the ball forward. Then I said, well, I really want to be general manager. This is good. And you also have to be lucky. Everything I'm saying, trust me, there's always an element of luck as well. But luck favors those who are working hard and passionate. So a position opened up to go to Singapore and run HP OpenView telecommunications. And so a gentleman came to me, he said, I have a position in Singapore for a general manager. Would you like to do it? It took me 5 seconds. I said, yes, I'll do it. That's another lesson. When you get an opportunity and it's in the direction where you need to go, you do analysis, paralysis, you're done. You're going to lose that opportunity. It has to be in the passionate vision of your direction. If it is there, don't hesitate, take the risk. Because you have to be bold and brave to take the risk. There has to be an element of rashness. But it's not rash, because you've been thinking about that for years. And now that it has arrived, you have to grab the bull by the horn. If you don't, you may not get it again. So he said, are you sure? This will mean moving to Singapore. And I have many other candidates, and one thing deep down I knew, HP was a deep bench company, deep bench. There are a lot of good people. So in order for you to distinguish yourself, you have to do something different. So it took me 5 seconds. I said, yes, I'll do it. I had not figured anything. We had 4 children by then, the young kids. And I said, no, we'll figure it out. So having that can-do attitude is very important if you want to propel yourself further. If you just discuss, and when opportunity comes, you get cold feet, you're not ready. So that opportunity came, and I grabbed it. And I tell you, if I had not done that, I would be, probably running an engineering team somewhere. So now what happened after that? That was a very risky move. So when you are in Cupertino, you're running engineering, you have 200 engineers working, good paycheck, cushy life. You can go to lunch every day out. You can come home at 6:30, 6. But that after a while that becomes an old game. Life becomes too cushy. When life becomes too cushy, actually it's time to change something. So I went to Singapore and I had not figured anything. How will we do it? But that's the lesson. That when you get a good opportunity, it will figure itself. So there were days when I used to say, what have I done? I was in Cupertino. But in hindsight, see, remember I said in the beginning, that every experience you go through is a building block which will feed somewhere in down the line. You don't know that yet. So that exposed me to Southeast Asia, India, Asian culture in work environment, and BITSAA, working with telecom service providers there. Little did I know that experience will be very valuable in the last 10 years as a CEO. Because as a CEO, you're managing 1/3 of the employee population, generally is in Asia. You know their culture, you know how they work. Your Asia sales are increasing more aggressively. India is doing so well right now in most of the sectors we are in. So that experience, the relationships, those customers come again and again. I didn't know at that time. So after that, came back, but that experience was far more than an MBA. So my key lesson here, key thing I'm focusing on is peace, wisely linearize. Put that passionate vision for yourself. So if you notice, my vision kept upgrading itself every 3-4 years. That's the key lesson. Every 3-4 years, from director to VP to GM. So then after GM, after HP, I knew I'm slowing down. And one thing, in hindsight, I would say, I definitely changed the equation when things became comfortable. And it was painful. And by the way, sometimes the change was forced on me because we all become comfortable. Sometimes I initiated the change. But whenever the change happened, it opened new doors which are far more lucrative than any door I had before. Right, so after every time I changed, that's one thing I always like to see. The next phase was more productive, more enjoyable, more contribution. So that was the first key thing I want you to focus on. Passionate vision for yourself, not your team, not your group, not your company, yourself. And 3-4 year clear goal. And don't worry about the time. If things are taking a little longer, no problem. You have a 40-50 year career. Right? So don't worry about 1 year, 2 years here. There. Second point. Always make sure you have very strong set of core values. And HP was very good at that, inculcating that in us. Because when we looked up, we had 4 layers of great leaders. Not 1 layer, not 2 layers, 4 layers. And they all had MBWA, management by walking around. They all had humbleness. They all had innovation. They all hired great people. They all mentored people. They all valued profitability and growth of revenue. They all paid not by credit cards but by HP P&L. They didn't borrow much money. Those were the values of the company. And they all contributed to the community HP was in. It was one of the great companies to work for a very long time. People stayed for a long time because the company mentored them. Company spent time. Those core values I took in every company I led. When in Campion, we do every 2 years, we do employee survey. So in our company, recently, they said that the strength of the company is the core values. And it takes time because people don't do what you say. People do what you do. If you ask your employees to fly coach, you got to fly coach yourself. You can't say you fly coach, but I'll see you in the front when you get out. It doesn't work that way. So these are the things. Dave Packard used to look for parking spot in Comdeck's show where he was the keynote speaker. So these are the leaders we grew up with. And because of that, the companies were built to last. Companies were not built by one person or one persona or some massive prima donna who is creating the company. They were built because they had layers of leaders who came to work with very strong core values. And that's what we have to build as a leader. So as you're developing yourself, sit down and say, okay, what are my core values? Am I innovative? Or am I a gatekeeper? Do I enable teams and make things happen? Or am I a person who really uses position, power, title, and thug factor? Very important what I'm saying right now. Am I a person who empowers, or am I a person who likes control? If you like a lot of control, you will not be able to build things to last. But as soon as you leave, it's game over. But if you empower people, you build teams, and you have joy because they are succeeding around you, and now you're a leader. You're not a selfish person trying to just push your agenda. People, by the way, people see through very clearly, very quickly. Very quickly, especially engineers. Very quickly. So you don't need to do anything, fake. You just be genuine about it. And then you build teams which create great products and great solutions. And so the core value part is the part not emphasized enough. If you look at Silicon Valley, a lot of companies are having difficulty as they've grown larger. The root cause is that many of them have not probably spent time to build a strong core value foundation. The way HP did, or many companies, successful companies did. But those are now, for a lot of people, those are old years. But look at the new age companies. They have to do these things. So as you are developing a leadership, whatever teams you have, ask that question: what are my core values, and how am I fortifying it? How am I displaying that? How am I making sure that I remove people in my team, in my company, who don't follow core values? Remove them. Don't tolerate them. I do that. Remove them. Because more you keep them around, they drill your boat. Actually, they drill very slowly, you won't even see it as they are in your boat and the water starts coming. That's what they do. So as you're turning companies around, as you're leading teams, leading companies, you've got to have very good understanding of core values, write it down, explain to them, and then act on it if those who don't follow. And those who follow, you reward them, recognize them. That's the second key point. Third point, deep competence in business and technology. Let me go deeper into that. Many of you might be startups, many of you might be managers, many of you might be VPs, directors. Doesn't matter what I'm saying. A startup engineer also needs to know enough about business, value, what sells, where is competition. Now, a product management person may know a lot deeper than you as an engineer, but you need to know enough so what you're creating, you are adapting for the customer need. You're adapting for winning in the marketplace. If you are director or VP, now you're going deeper into the business understanding, presentations, and enough in technology than the engineer. So you can explain what are the 3 differentiating points of your products to anybody with clarity. Now, engineer may tell you where the code is and a lot more how many milliseconds it takes, and all of that, they will know. But you got to have, with both sides, enough understanding of business and technology. And that comes by imbibing whatever you're working on. That comes by meeting with people who are strong in business, who are strong. So one of the things I do is continuous education. Even today, last 3 years or 4 years, every year I go to Harvard Business School. Spend a week there, learn new things. Went to Stanford, did the entrepreneurial and innovation certificate. Not that I need to, but I learned new techniques. I learned new digital marketing. I learned new demand generation. I meet with people who are experts in the field. And even if from one course, and nowadays anything you want to learn, it's at the stroke of your finger.